Morning, good afternoon as per your respective time zone. Welcome to today's session of 21D HR, Helpdesk, and ORC. We'll wait for a couple of minutes and we'll begin the session. As you can see, some more attendees are joining in. Hello, everyone. Good morning again, good afternoon as per your respective time zone. On behalf of entire Evosys Managed Services team, we'd like to welcome you all to 21D HR Helpdesk and ORC Advisory Webinar session. This important session is to keep you fully synchronized with the new features and functionalities as a part of this quarterly release, which Oracle provides. My name is Hardik Patel. I'm an operations manager here at Evosys Managed Services Department. Today, I'm your host for this session. I'm glad to introduce my colleague, Adib Gandhi, who is part of our vast HCM team at Evosys. Today, he'll take us through all the HR Helpdesk and ORC updates for 21D quarterly release. Today's session is planned for around 60 minutes, and we'll also make sure that we also leave some time to answer all your questions you may have. If we ever run out of time, we'll also make sure that we get back to you and answer all your questions. So let's look at today's agenda. We'd like to keep you our approach towards the Oracle updates in a very simpler method. We'll be taking you through vital analysis for 21D updates done by our experts, which will help you incorporating new features and updates easily into your system. Also, we'll sync you on any bugs and known issues if there are any. It's good to have an interactive session, so please do ask questions through chat or question panel, and we'll answer them at the end of the session. We'll move to the next slide. This is to give you the glimpse on how we have crafted the structure of this session. So the first thing is list of new features coming into 21D. Detailing on features, so you get brief understanding on what new features are all about. And the next one is business benefits and important takeaways for you as a decision maker. There are 4 components wherein we have done in-depth analysis of feature, which we're going to present to you today. The first one is an impact level analysis, which demonstrate the impact on an user. If it's a low impact, then resistant testing can be avoided or not. If it's a high impact, we need to opt for resistant testing. The second one, which highlights, which we are all aware that there are some features which are auto-enabled by default and some by Oracle and some which we need to opt for. And the third one highlights the nature of the feature. There would be certain configuration which may be required or some can be used without any changes. And the last one, which is a quick win. This term we use to simply convey that what is ready to use by investing minimum amount of time and what requires significant amount of time and effort to make use of this feature. So with this, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Adib. But before that, I'd like to quickly know which will help us crafting the much more valuable webinars going forward. We'd like to know that which industry does your organization belongs to. So if you can please help us with this poll, which you can see on the screen. After this poll, we'll immediately move to this session. Thank you very much for your votes on this. We'll be closing the poll, and my colleague Adib will now resume with the further session. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Adib.
Thank you, Hardik, for your introduction. So my name is Adib, and today we'll be looking about the new features that Oracle has introduced in 21D for HR Helpdesk and ORC. So as per the analysis we have made, we have identified 43 new features for HR Helpdesk and ORC, out of which we have classified some of them as default, which are the number is 29. When we say default, that means it requires no configuration. It is available readily for use. And we have classified some of them as the rest and the quick wins. So we have further classified the features into a few categories. The first one is about quick win default with no configuration. So here we are saying that this feature will require no configurations at all, and it is already enabled and ready to use. The next feature that we are talking about is quick wins default with configuration. So here we are saying that some of the features which requires minimal configuration and are ready to use. The next feature is about the next category that we will be talking about is quick wins opt-ins. So this features requires some of the enablement in order to use it, and then also we have classified it as a quick win, and the remaining features we have identified them as the rest. So we will quickly move on to our first category, which is quick wins default with no configuration. We have our first feature, which is automated country selection in apply flow. So this feature relates to the candidate. When the candidate applies to a job application on the career side, at that point of time, they are asked to provide certain values like their personal information. Also, they are asked to provide their address information. So in this area, in this release, Oracle has introduced a feature where the country field, which is mandatory for the candidate to fill, can be defaulted using the browser setting. So if the browser setting of the candidate is set to allow, then the country is defaulted based on the current location from where they are applying. If it is set not to allow, then in that situation, the job application primary location would be selected as the default value for the country. So this feature will simplify the process for the candidate. It will help them in filling out job application by defaulting the value in the country field. The next feature is about building more complex career site. So as most of the organization have the requirement to build more complex website just to attract the candidate, and they are focusing more on the look and feel. So for this context, in this release, we have the capabilities in Oracle to deliver more complex website and build that. So now there is a possibility to add rows to a sections, and also you can use the predefined column layouts that are already available. So as you can see on the screen, we have a new rows that can be added to a sections, and also the same way we were using the same tools which we were using previously for designing is also available. So using that, the organization can define more complex websites and they can attract the candidates. The next feature is about validating of dates in the apply flow. So again, when the candidate applies for a job, at times they are asked for the date of birth. So what happened in the previous releases was the candidate used to go to the end of the page. They used to click on submit button, and at that time the error would come up that you have entered, or there would be a pop-up which will show that you have entered incorrect value for this field. So in this release, what happens is there is a runtime error verification that comes up. So as soon as you enter blank values for the date of birth, you will have a message like please enter the whole date. And also if you are not entering the date in the correct format, then also there is an error which will say please enter in the correct format, which is YYY for year. So in this way, what happens is this feature will provide more guidance to the candidate for filling out job application, and in such a case we can avoid, like as an organization, a burnout can be avoided for the candidates. The next feature is about editing actions in the active candidate selection process. This is a very good feature that has come up in 21D, because what happened previously was when we need to update the candidate selection process, normally we used to copy the candidate selection process and then modify the actions and then again activate it. But in this release, you can directly, like as an administrator, you can modify the active candidate selection process. So modifying includes, you can add events to a phase, you can add actions on events and states. You can also edit them, you can deactivate the actions, you can reactivate them. So these are all the functionality that you can do by keeping the candidate selection process active in the active state. And also when you do this, this will also have an impact to the existing job requisitions. So in this way, you will save time in doing the duplication and then modifying it. And also it will faster the process. So the changes would get immediately reflected in the system, even for the job application which are in the active state. The next feature is about improving the candidate search. So this is a feature which will help the hiring team in searching the right candidates. So now, based on the keywords which are there, major and school, So these two keyword values are also included in the search. So now the hiring team can search based on the value entered in major and school field. And also there is a filter which is available. So now they can sort out candidate based on the categories. So we have external candidates, employees, like that. So this will help the hiring team to directly search the precise candidate and take the actions which is required. The next new feature is about adding interview schedules to job requisition using HCM data loader. So as we are aware that in order to arrange a interview for the candidate, we need to have a interview schedule associated with the job requisition. If we talk about the process that we currently do, is what we do is we generally add the interview schedule template to the job requisition, and later on we associated that template to the candidate. But now in 2020 we have HCM data loader. So using this HCM data loader, it is very easy for us. We can add the interview schedules to all the job requisition or a few of job requisition at one go. So this will help the hiring team to have an alternative option to add the interview schedule and for multiple job requisition at the same time, without they going into the each job requisition and associating an interview schedule. Instead of that, they can just use HCM data loader and they can perform the activities in the very vast manner. So this will save time and it will also increase the accuracy. The next feature is about a similar kind of using HCM data loader. So now you can add responsibilities and qualifications to job requisitions using HCM data loader. So again, in the previous release, we saw that these two fields were introduced for job posting. So we had there were quite a lot of organization who had the existing job requisition already in the system, and they wanted to upload responsibilities and qualification for those job requisition which are already there in the system. So for those organization, it is a very good feature where you can you can collect all the information from the team at once, and you can just load it using HCM data loader. So this feature will again help the hiring team, giving them an alternate option to add all these fields at one go instead of they going into individual job requisition and doing it manually from the front end user interface. The next feature is about improved job requisition search autosuggest. So this feature is related to the candidate. So when the candidate goes into the career site and they search for a let's say a specific job or a specific location, so whichever is the case, so now there is an auto suggest option which would appear. So as soon as the candidate enters one letter, automatically they will have the list which matches that letter. So it will help the candidate to streamline their searching processes, and they will have a few location auto suggest. So this will just speed up their process and also give them efficiency in searching the required job that they are finding. The next feature is about moving job application to the HR phase using HCM data loader. So again, this is an additional feature that HCM data loader has. So now you can move a candidate to a different phase of the offer itself. So as you can see from the table which is there, so you can now move a candidate from offer accepted to HR pending automated processing stage. So these are the enhancement that they have done. Previously, this was not the case. There were certain restrictions on the HDL, but now it has been moved to a very far extent. Now we can do many things using HCM data loader in this area. Normally, this is very useful when we are trying to migrate from a legacy system to Oracle. At that point of time, this is a very good feature that is very helpful in arranging our candidates into proper order. So again, a good feature from the hiring team point of view, instead of they going into every candidate and changing the states or the phase, they can directly now use this data loader and they can do that easily without even going from the user interface. A similar new feature for HDL. So now you can update the job requisition data in the approvals, job formatting, open or posting phrases. You can edit them, you can modify the fields. that you want. Again, a good feature for the hiring team. The next one is about updating the source tracking using HCM data loader. Again, a field of the job requisition which can be easily uploaded using HCM data loader instead of the hiring team going into it and performing that from the user interface. The next feature is about preventing changing job field configuration for job requisitions. So previously, the job field was open for configuration. When I say open for configuration, I mean to say that you can control it whether it could be visible or not. But as a result, what was happening was it was creating display issues. So there were number coming up in the job field and so on. So for that reason, in this release, now we don't have the configuration option available for the job field. It will be disabled by default. The job field will not be available. But still, there is a chance that if you have a uh, very strong requirement in order to view that job field, you can still make it visible from the page composer. So normally this feature will help in reducing the display issues that was happening with the job field. The next feature is about refining best candidate for a job requisition. So based on various analytics, now you can search a candidate and you can define what are the requirements that you are looking for a specific job. And you can click on, so as you can see on the screenshot, you can open a job requisition, and in the top recommendation section, you can click on the refined recommendation. You can enter a criteria on what basis you are looking, and then you can find the best fit of the candidate as per the organization need and as per the job needs. The next feature is related to Oracle Digital Assistance, where you can refer a candidate using the internal candidate experience skill. So as you can see on the screenshot, so here an Oracle Digital Assistant has been displayed, and you are just casually writing, "I have a friend who is great fit for a role." You have a full conversation over here, and you can see all the job application which are relevant to those areas, and then you can easily refer a friend of yours or colleague easily using the Oracle Digital Assistant. So this again provides very simple navigation to the employees, and they can easily refer to the friends and colleagues. The next one is about the feature is about search index upgrade enhancement. So this is what relates to the existing process that they had. So previously, when there was a change, it was the whole volume of data that was refreshed at the same time. But in this release, as it was as in the previous case where they were taking all the data, it was very time consuming, and there were also issues happening with connectivity issues, and there were session timeouts that were leading to an errors. So in this release, they have come up with the incremental indexing. That means only the changes that are taken place are being refreshed, and so it is increasing the efficiency of the process. The next feature is about creating reports using assignment DFFs in job offer. So at times we have a requirement to have custom fields in the job offers page, and also we have seen a requirement where the custom field needs to be reported for certain organization plannings and such cases. So now in this release, you can draw a report based on the assignment DFFs which are there in job offers, and you can easily play with them. You can easily use that data into certain uh, completing certain areas of the organization. The next feature is about combining agent invitation information with job application and source information. So again, a feature which has been introduced in 21D, which is related to the reports. So now you can easily draw a report based on these two fields, which are their last updated date and last updated. So using this report, you can easily compare when the agent was added to a job requisition and when the agent submitted the job application. So this will help you in determining the time an agent is taking in giving the candidates against a job application, and many more functionalities can be seen out from this analysis. The next feature is about having a subject area for opportunity marketplace. So there are various segments in which we are able to generate the report now. The subject area is recruiting opportunity marketplace real time, and you can see that these are the number of segments that are available: FEX, gigs, application. So this will again help the HR or the recruiter in drawing the report on various gig activities, interest, and performance uh, based on the interest of the organization. The next feature is about using single assignment and reports. So this is a feature. Feature is very useful for the organization who have multiple assignments in place. So now you can easily draw a report based on the assignment name of the collaborator, hiring manager, or recruiter. So you can get the specific assignment at the very first place, and you can plan things accordingly as per that. So it definitely reduces the complexity, because when the person is having multiple assignments, determining which assignment is in place is very difficult. So this will reduce the complexities. Also, it will reduce the duplicate entries that we were having previously. The next feature is about improved navigation to multiple job application in candidate self-service. So in the candidate screen now, when the candidate goes to the profile option, they will be able to see all the job application in one place. So at a single screen, they will be able to see 5 applications along with the statuses that will be active, inactive, and draft status. And if they have more than 5 applications, then they need to click on show more, and then they will be having all the list. So this feature definitely improves the user experience for the candidate to navigate to different job application using the same screen. The next feature is about HR Helpdesk, where there is, in this release, we have the ability to define notifications for custom objects using notification preference manager. So this feature will help the administrator to quickly define notifications for the custom objects. So the way that the administrator can do is they can create triggers on the custom object for which they want the user notification. And then they can go to the notification preference manager to set the notification recipients, and also they can define the delivery channels for those objects. So a very quick way for the administrator to define notification for custom objects. The next feature is about open common records from recent item as dynamic tabs in workplace and dynamic enable work areas. So this feature is very good in terms of user experience, because what happens is now you can click on the recent items from the service request tab, and when you click on the recent items, it won't open that recent item into the same tab or as a pop-up. It will use a different window altogether. So if you have 2 windows at the same time where you can refer to the recent items from the one window, and on the other window you can have the existing items that you are already looking for. So this will be a great user experience for the users, because they can easily keep the work area organized, and they can see multiple interactions at the same time. And instead of they going on to clicking on multiple screens, they can just easily switch between the screens and they can see the interactions. The next feature is about having service request transfers analysis in the subject area. So this is the subject area service CRM service request real time. In that, now we will have the transfer effects, that fields that are available. So you can see over here there is a segment service request transfer effects, and under that there are some fields. Also, you can see that the transfer fields are also there. The transfer analysis, which includes the last transfer date, transferred by account, flag, etc. So considering these analysis, the managers would know how often the service requests are being transferred to different agents or are being sent to the correct queue, and they can take steps accordingly in order to plan this. And they can also mitigate if there is any negative impact in this, or if also they can work out on the efficiency of the resolution that an agent is doing on a service request. The next feature is about the knowledge management, where track articles are now updated using major and minor versioning. So now knowledge management has two areas where we say major and minor versioning. So when I say minor versioning, it means that the author can edit the article n number of times, and this can be considered as the minor versioning. But at the same time, if the author tries to publish the article, then it will be considered as the major versioning. So what happens normally is the the authors are normally used to editing the articles multiple times. So this used to increase the version of the knowledge document, and it was creating a wrong impression to the end user. So now let's say, for example, if an article in this release, if an article is edited 10 times, but if it is published only once, then the end user will see the version as 1.0, even though the article has been edited 10 times. So the minor versioning would be changed, but the major versioning would remain 1.0 because it has been only published once. So this is a very good feature in terms of the managing the versioning, as well as it also helps in tracking the articles. The next feature is very similar to the first one. So now you can draw a report on the knowledge analytics. You can see how many times it was minor versioning was done or major versioning was done. You can draw a report out of that, and you can plan things accordingly. So this is all about the features that are with no configuration. Now we will see about the features with include minimal configuration. So the first feature is in that is improved agency hiring security. So as we consider agent as a third party, we often want to control the data of the candidate. So in this release, you can do that. So now as an administrator, you can enable a setting in order to control how much candidate data the recruiting agents would be able to see. So uh, so when the feature is enabled, the recruit when the feature is enabled by the administrator, the agent would be able to see data in only the attachment tab. Attachment tab meaning the agent can see the resume cover letters which are included in the attachment tab, but not in the details tab. But if the feature is not enabled, then they will be able to see the candidate data in the details tab as well as in the attachment tab. So normally with this feature, we have a restricting access to the agents by controlling some of the candidate data. And also the candidate control of sharing the information has been looked into this feature. The next feature is about configuration of miscellaneous documents attached by candidates. So miscellaneous document is a very good subject. So normally now we are able to control it. We can define what should be the file size that should be attached by the candidate, and also we can define the file type that a candidate can attach onto this miscellaneous document. By doing so, we make sure that the file types are very much aligned to our organization policies, and we also provide more control in terms of enhanced security. Like if we want to make that the candidate should only upload in PDF documents so that the documents are not modified at the later stage. So this can be done uh, using this feature. We can configure it, and we can make align things for our organization. The next feature is about internal candidates management by recruiting agencies. So in this release, the recruiting agents can now also manage the internal candidates. So there is an option which is available while creating the agencies. Just below this create job application on behalf of candidate, we have another option which will say that include internal candidates. So when the agent would have that permission, they will be able to add the internal candidate into the talent area, and then they can provide the internal candidate against a specific job application. So in this feature, like using this feature, the agencies would now be able to manage internal candidates as well as the external candidates. The next feature is about adding skills to job requisition. So as a recruiter, when we create a job requisition, uh, we can now add skills in a very separate section. So we have a separate section named QA skills where we can add the skills types specifically. Previously, before this release, what we were doing is we were trying to add the skills in the posting area or the responsibilities and the qualification area. We were mentioning that this job requires certain skills. But now we have a totally different section available where we can add the skills in the job requisition. The recruiter can add skills in the job requisition. The next feature is about selecting business unit specific smart text entries. So when there is a multi-view functionality enabled, at that point of time, for each business unit, now we can have smart text entries. So this will help the customers to deploy more than one service center with a single instance of the service application. So no need of creating different instance for the service request. They can handle these in the single instance of the service application. So now we will be looking into the third category, which is quick wins and opt-ins. So the first feature is about increasing support of job requisition, flexfields, and career side. So again, like some of the organization would have a requirement to include some of the custom fields in the job requisition, and that field will also be displayed to the candidate. So for that scenarios, in this release, what is there is currently you are able to, the candidate would be able to search on that specific value. So let's say if you have a custom field for some organization policies, then the candidate would be able to search that in the career site based on the DFF values. Also, they would be able to filter that out. So they would be seeing those values in the filter option, and using that they can filter the DFFs and they can get the required job application accordingly. So this will definitely provide flexibility for the candidate to search more appropriately and in a very specific manner. And they can also use filters, which again is a very good look and feel functionality that the candidate would have. The next feature is about simplified person search and merge process. So now they have made the merge process very easier. So now as a recruiter, you can straighten search for the candidate based on the name, person number, email, or phone. And once you have selected the right candidate, you will have the option of which candidate you should retain. So you can just select on the candidate which you need to retain and click on submit. So this will just complete the process. So previously it was a very complex process that we had, but now it is a very straight away process where you can straight away select the candidate and also select the candidate which you want to retain at the same time. So it will make the hiring team work easier, making the process simpler. The next feature is about linking existing job requisition to pipeline requisition. So before this release, we were not allowed to link job requisition to a pipeline requisition. It was the other way. We can link a pipeline job requisition to a standard job requisition. But in this release, we have the option. So we can link a standard job requisition to a pipeline job requisition, and we can achieve more functionality around this. So now the hiring manager will have more options in order to, so they will have less number of job requisitions, and they can link a standard job requisition to a pipeline job requisition, and they can perform the operations. So from the actions itself, we will be able to see the option available linked to a pipeline requisition, and then we can select the pipeline job requisition for which we want to link it. So a good feature for the hiring team for managing the functions. The next feature is about index candidate attachment schedule process. So now a totally different process, a separate process is created in 21D named index candidate attachments, which is advised to schedule for every 15 minutes. So using this, it is a very unique process which you need to run, and it will manage all the documents of the candidate more efficiently and in a faster manner. The next feature is about viewing updates to service requests secured using access group in near real time. So now in this release, what they have achieved is now the user can access the new or updated SR immediately. So before that, we need to run the process perform object sharing rule assignment process for for making the users associated with the SRs, but now it is a very real time. They can get the SR immediately and they can also get the updates immediately without running the process. So it makes the works faster for the users. The next is about defining access group based data security policies for SR messages. So access group is something which without technical knowledge also you can configure it. So they have now given security. You can now restrict SR messages based on the access group that you have defined, and it is a very friendly. There is a very user-friendly UI from which, by using that, administrator can easily configure this. Uh, the same access group, like you can also control the service categories using the access group. Again, a very simple UI for the administrator to configure it without even knowing the technical knowledge. They can use access group and then they can control the security for service categories as well. The next feature is about improving related objects with unique business driven behaviors. So now you can extend the relationship. You can define the relationship. You can automatically create relationship to the action plan objects. So this is something with relates to the business driven attributes. So let's say you can define a custom relationship based on the custom objects and workflows. The next feature is about creating draft knowledge articles from action and action plan. So when the agent is handling a service request, at the same time, they can create a draft knowledge document from the same. So this will help the agent in creating the knowledge document from the same screen, and they can have a great user experience. The next feature is about supporting FlexField in SR attachments. So when we are attaching a document to the HR or we are attaching a file to the SR, at the same time, if you want to capture any additional information. So for that reason, in this release, we have a support flex field which is introduced. So you can have custom flex field for capturing those data in the SR attachments. The next feature is about configuring email templates to control when to include past conversation. So again, as an administrator, if you want to include certain past conversation in the email messages, you can add the past conversation tag to the email template. We can also configure that, like which specific channel type messages would be included in the past conversation. So using this feature, you can communicate more effectively with the customers, and also it will result into a very focused communication. So this is all about the quick wins opt-ins, and now I'll just quickly take you through the rest. So normally all the features that are covered in the rest are most of the adaptive intelligence. So you need to make sure that you have adaptive intelligence enabled, through which you can see the best candidates. You can also see the recommended jobs. So these are all the very relevant features. Similar jobs, time to hire, and so on. So this is all for the adaptive intelligence that we have classified into the rest of the feature. So thank you for listening. Over to you, Hardik.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Adib, for this wonderful insights. So before we quickly go to the Q&A, I'd like to quickly ask everybody in terms of what are your interests in terms of, so that we can craft much more valuable webinar going forward. So on your screen, you'll see that your area of interest we would like to hear from you, which includes the technology innovation like chatbot, RPA, IoT, AI, managed services, value-based analytics, data masking tools, cloud transformation, and we can work towards crafting the content based on your interest levels for the upcoming webinars in the next quarter. And also, if you have any question, we're more than happy to take that. So you can also write to us through question or chat panel. I don't see any question at the moment. If you don't have any at the moment, if you want to ask at the later stage, you can write to us. You can reach out the dedicated project manager or you can write to us on business@evosysglobal.com. If you need any one-to-one session on this release or anything, do let us know. We'll arrange that as well. And I'll be closing the poll quickly, and would like to quickly ask you the last thing, that how we did today on the scale of 1 to 5. We won't take more than 2 to 3 minutes of yours, and we'll be ending the session. And before you go, we'd like to tell you that we'll be also sending you the recording of this presentation along with the actual PPT and along with the test script. And so you can go through that, you can pass it to your colleagues. And again, if you have any question, you can write to us anytime or with the help of PMs. Yeah, thank you very much. I can see some polls in, some feedback for us. So again, just to repeat, we'll be sending you this presentation for the features released in 21D, along with the recording of this session as well. So it should be on your way by this weekend. We'll be closing the poll, and thank you, everybody. And also, we have upcoming sessions coming in. You can ask your colleagues to go through it. We have supply chain, inventory, and order management, portfolio management. We have this dedicated session this time. This is coming on 29th of October. You can register for that as well. So this is it from our end. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.